Believe it or not, the anatomy of an airplane is not that difficult to understand, but there are several parts to be familiar with. To make it easier to digest, I'm going to split this into two different videos because I want you to know not only where to locate these parts on a plane, but also how they function and what they control. There's a ton of different planes out there, each with slightly different layouts and configurations, but if you know the basic parts of one aircraft, then you'll be able to grasp the overall layout of most of the other ones. For example, the layout of a single-engine Piper Cherokee is going to look a little different than a Boeing 747. However, both use similar basic parts and principles, so if you can understand one, you won't have such a hard time understanding the other. Today we're going to look at arguably the most popular aircraft among pilots across the world, and that's the Cessna 172. Alright, so here we have the 172, also known as a Skyhawk, and like I said, there are a lot of different parts to go over, namely 18 that I want you to be familiar with for now. But for this video, we're only going to discuss half of those. First, we have the cockpit. This is also known as the flight deck, and it is the control center of the aircraft where pilots operate, navigate, communicate, and manage all the systems. Again, the layouts may vary by aircraft type, but the anatomy of a modern cockpit is fairly standardized. Now, as far as the specifics of that anatomy, those will be a separate two-part section of videos, so do yourself a favor and don't even think about all of the weird doohickeys in there for now. Next, the propeller and the spinner. I've heard it put before that the propeller is pretty much a rotating wing that converts engine power into thrust. Remember the concept of thrust back in our lesson on the four forces of flight? Well, this is what creates it. As the blades of a propeller spin, low pressure forms in front of the blade, and high pressure forms behind it. This accelerates air toward the back of the plane, or rearward, and as a result, forward thrust is generated. Then there's the spinner, or the hub. This is the center cone-shaped piece that connects the blades to the engine. Each blade has a root and a tip. The root is the thick, strong stem that attaches to the spinner, and the tip is the thin top portion of the blade that moves the fastest but creates the loud noise you hear when the propeller spins. Yeah, it's an annoying sound, but you'll get used to it. Number 4 is going to be the engine cowl. This one's pretty straightforward. It's simply the outer covering that surrounds an airplane's engine like a helmet. The cowl improves aerodynamics by smoothing the airflow around the engine. It helps guide air efficiently into and out of the engine area and directs cooling air over hot engine parts like the cylinders. In other words, the cowl is a shell for the engine that helps to keep it at the proper temperature. Now we move down to 5 and 6, where we'll find the plane's landing gear. The leading one at the front is called the nose landing gear, or NLG, if you're one of those weird acronym people, and the two on the sides are known as the main landing gear, or MLG. Both of these allow the aircraft to take off, land, taxi, brake, and park safely. They absorb the impact when the plane touches down, keep the airplane stable on the ground, and allow for controlled steering and stopping. You'll see a large range of sizes of landing gear that vary from plane to plane, as well as different landing gear configurations. A lot of landing gear, mostly on jets and bigger aircraft, is retractable. This, however, is the most common configuration or arrangement for landing gear, and regardless of the size, landing gear serves the same purpose pretty much across the board. Now, the landing gear is attached to the large body of the airplane, which is called the fuselage. Think of it like a big torso that has all the other parts and appendages, so to speak, protruding from it. Kind of a weird way to put it, I guess, but it's the central point of the aircraft where the center of gravity is located. That's pretty much all to say about that. Number 8 is going to be the antennas. They are small devices mounted on the fuselage, wings, or tail, or sometimes multiple of those, that allow the aircraft to send and receive radio signals. They are crucial for communication with air traffic control and other pilots, as well as navigation and even weather information. There's a lot to go into with different types of antennas and communication, but for now, and I know I say this a lot, just be familiar with that basic information. Okay, the last ones we'll go over today are the struts. The struts are structural supports that help hold the wings, landing gear, or other parts in place. They're like extra arms that transfer loads and add strength to the airplane structure. We can see these two large ones extending from the fuselage to the bottom of the wings, and another noticeable one is the shock strut on the landing gear. These are two good examples, but there are others. Just think of struts as support systems for the plane's structural integrity. Alright, we are going to stop there for now. There's still the whole top and back portion of the plane to cover, but we will do that in the next video. Just study up on these. You can screenshot anything here if you want to save a reference. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment or reach out.